Hey everybody, Objectively Dan here, and I don't know if you heard, but this week in Louisiana, they just passed a law that says that we have to have the 10 Commandments posted at every single public school system in the state. And the funny thing is, this isn't even the first time something like this has happened. There's been numerous times where people have tried to make similar kinds of laws, pretty much every single time being shot down by the Supreme Court because it could be a violation of the First Amendment. In fact, I would think so. But obviously, some people still want to try this stuff anyway. But hey, if you think that this is a good idea to put the 10 Commandments up in every single public school in the nation, I would love to hear your opinion why. And I would love to tell you why you're wrong. And let's go ahead and do that now. Let's get this party started. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Truth Wanted. I am your host, Objectively Dan. This is the live call-in show that happens every single week. Fridays at 7 p.m. Central Time, we talk to people about what they believe and why. My goodness, my green screen's looking crazy right now. It was not looking that way earlier. You see what's happening right now?
I feel like I look fuzzy too,
something that's crazy looking. I look like I'm being infected by a ghost from the Ghostbusters movie right now.
Kind of cool, actually.
I got a Zool thing going on right now, and I don't know if I'm into it. But regardless of the fact, I will try to fix that in a second. We got to get this party started. This is a live call-in show, so we need your calls. We have open lines right now. It's 512-991-9242, or you can call through your computer at tiny.cc/call-TW. Truth Wanted is, in fact, a product of the atheist community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And yeah, on that last note there, you can kind of guess what our opinions are about, 10 Commandments being up in public schools. I mean, really, I don't know what they think. They think this is going to stop school shooters or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I've been told it will teach kids good morality. But
yeah. Is that what you've been told?
That's what I've been told. Okay. But funny enough, Dan, I think there is pretty good evidence to the contrary. Yeah.
I think that there's it's the null hypothesis here. Okay. There's been a lot of bad things that have happened regardless of the religiousness of schools, I guess. Like, I don't even know if that's a factor with these school shootings. Maybe there is some correlation. Maybe it happens at public schools more than private schools. I don't know. Maybe that's one thing to look at, but regardless, I don't think you should put the 10 Commandments up in public schools. That's my take. I don't know how hot of a take that is, but don't think it's a good idea.
I think the answer is really simple. Either nobody gets to put their stuff up or everybody does. So I'm really excited for the Louisiana legislature and governor to start putting up the tenets of Satanism. I'm super excited to hear that. I'm sure they will, because this couldn't possibly just be some Christian nationalist agenda to break the separation of church and state, violate the First Amendment, right? Because if it was that would just be obviously anti-American and anti our Constitution. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I don't want to put it out there. I don't know their minds or hearts, and
I don't think so. No, it can't be. It can't be. There's no precedent for that. No. That's never actually happened in this country ever.
No. So. Definitely not in my state of Tennessee.
No.
Definitely wasn't tried in Texas.
No. Not at all. But I would be curious. I mean, seriously, because obviously we do these opening things because we want people to call in. We want people to, call in on various topics. If anybody has a good argument as to why anybody should have the 10 Commandments up, I really struggle. Even when I was a Christian, I would have thought that that's not a good idea. But
totally, or even just somebody fine, okay, you're man, maybe not the 10 Commandments, but I think there shouldn't be a separation of religion and government. If you think that, call me, please. I am fascinated by that thought, and I think it is so demonstrable as to why that's a horrific way to to have a society. I just think that's really easy to see. So yeah, give us a call if you're feeling that.
We'd love to hear. By the way, this is Secular Rarity joining me today. Hey, Secular Rarity, how's it going?
Good, man. I'm excited to be back. We were hanging out last week, and we had some fun talking about some space Jews. Is the only way I can say it.
We talked about space Jews on another broadcast, and that was really interesting. And we also just talked about covers of what's Apple Bottom Jeans.
Oh, right before we came on, that was phenomenal. That was I wish you guys could have seen that. Oh, it was great.
It's pretty good. There's a lot of covers of Apple Bottom Jeans out there. That's I'll leave it at that. Yeah, they exist in multitudes. It's really cool. Well, we don't even have time to go talk about that. I think we should instead talk about the We Want the Truth segment, which is the segment we do every week where we read the top 3 comments from last week and give a prompt for the week ahead. Last week's prompt was to name a time autocorrect screwed you over. And here are some of our favorite answers. Put them on the screen now. Number 3 is Shay the Crocheter, who said, my name Shayla got autocorrected to Sharks. My family has now been calling me Sharks for the past 15 years. My birthday cards are always signed with just a picture of a shark instead of to Shayla. But that's kind of fun, though, right?
That is kind of good.
I think that's kind of
good.
If it really bothered you, I feel like you would have said something in the last 15 years. But maybe it does bother you, and you're telling us to vent. If so, you should talk to your family about it. Otherwise, I'm gonna call you Sharks now because that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it kind of makes you sound. It kind of makes you sound badass.
Kind of makes you sound cool. Yeah. Kind of makes you sound like. Have you caught up on the newest season of The Boys? Maybe it kind of makes you sound like the Boys character, the Boys in the Boys universe. I don't know what they would call that. I guess there's a lot going on in that show. Not enough time to talk about it here. Number 2 comes from Jason Techlord, who says, my phone once identified I was white by autocorrecting anti-establishment to anti-Semitism, which
that's an odd one.
That's an odd one.
Yeah. If you accidentally get those 2 words mixed up to, in a casual conversation to a friend, it could be a little confusing.
Why are you texting anti-establishment?
We do need to know that context.
What was the context?
Jason. Yeah, please tell us. Give us a call. You know the number.
Give us a call. Yeah, no. Maybe not just about that, but I would like to know why you were texting your friends about anti-establishment. To be fair, that may be something I would text some people.
I can see it. Yeah. I can see it.
It's not a typical thing. Anyway, let's do our number 1 comment, which is from 725 Kelly Bean, who says, one time I wanted to text a friend, I'm feeling a little hormonal today, and autocorrect changed it to I'm feeling a little homosexual today. She immediately went into supportive ally friend mode. I was very confused at first. I am bisexual, so maybe it works. I mean, yeah.
I do love that.
Why not?
Love that thought. Like Kelly Dean shoots this off. It's just like, yeah, it's a little hormonal today, kind of all in my feels and whatever. And your friend responds and is like, hey, I want you to know, like, whatever, whoever you are, like, I want you to be you.
Yeah.
Be like, what?
That's awesome. You're like, you don't even expect the positivity coming from that. Right. Yeah. That's really funny. Happy Pride, by the way. Happy Pride, everybody out there. So shout outs to that. But yeah, no, these were very good responses this week. Thank you to everybody who left your comments. But the prompt this week is going to be complete the sentence. Aliens wouldn't abduct me because blank. It's a very good prompt, I think. Yeah, aliens wouldn't abduct me because blank. Elliot, you got an answer for this one?
I feel like there's a couple of answers, and I don't want to take answers away from our audience, right? Mm-hmm. But this one I think is kind of low hanging fruit. I mean, just like, look at me. Like, would you abduct this? Like, knowing what you know about me? Okay. Like, when I was younger, my parents were just like, don't worry, you're not getting kidnapped, But nice. No, I think the genuine answer I have to this, the reason that aliens would not abduct me is because I'd just be like way too into it, and they would just be like, this kind of ruins it for us, we don't want you to be this excited about this whole process. Like, I'd just be like, oh my gosh, aliens, fuck.
I'm assuming you'd be sedated. I don't think they'd let you be aware.
Have you been abducted by aliens, Dan?
I think it's like taking your cat to the vet. It's like, they're probably going to calm you down if they need to.
I have no idea. I have no idea why you would assume that. These are alien beings. They have a totally different system of morality potentially. Right. I don't know, Dan.
Totally different system of morality that just so happens to include kidnapping random people. Yeah, okay.
This seems logical to me, Dan.
All right. Okay. All right. We're off to a really good start here today, folks, on the show. So leave your comments below. Complete the sentence. Aliens wouldn't abduct me because blank, and we might read your top 3 next. Well, we will read the top 3. We might read yours next week if it's in the top 3. So that will be a thing that happens. But hey, yeah, talking to you, Elliot. We just talked very recently, which is kind of fun because normally this is part of the show where I like talk to my guests, I see what's going on in their life, but I kind of know what's kind of been up with you. So what's been happening since the last time I talked with you?
Oh gosh, that's a good question.
You were telling me, you want to tell people how you wanted to murder a child today, or do you not?
No. I think the term, I think the actual words I used were, I thought about slapping this kid at one point for a second. Okay. I think that's what I said. That was no. I've got other things I could talk about. Like next week, I'm actually having another event here in Nashville where my buddies and I, we get together. We've got atheists, we've got Christians. We come together and we just hash out a conversation. And I think this month's topic is like what is irrational about your worldview? It's gonna be spicy. Actually, Sidney Davis Jr. is gonna be doing that. Yeah, okay. Definitely. Okay. Yeah, known around these parts. So it's cool, man.
Nashville.
It's a fun time, man. Yeah.
Everybody in Nashville, go check it out. That's happening. Also, we got a super chat before the show started, and we are able to put these super chats on the screen in a new way here. So, in case you're interested, you should definitely check it out. But Miranda Rensberger, who said, "Secular Rarity, you're very brave to go on a show with Dan again so soon." Talking about our last appearance on Zidanza, where I did in fact show you the truth about space Jews with.
Time traveling space Jews actually is we shouldn't forget that. Interdimensional. Yeah, every word added on to that phrase makes it
Spirit
worse.
Science, baby. Spirit science. You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
That's sure. Love.
It's real.
Okay.
It's real.
Must be.
Why would somebody make all those videos? Channeling the Egyptian god Thoth told me so. So I know it's real.
Complete sense. That makes complete sense to me. I don't see why anybody would. What was it about the portals of energy or something? There was like life attracted to them.
Well, there's the tree of life, right? That's right. There was 2 extra portals on Lemuria. Right. Anyway, we're not going to get into it.
Yeah. We can't do it. We don't have time.
The lore is too deep. But back to these 10 Commandments things, okay? Because it's so silly, right? It's such a silly, we pay people to via our taxes to get things done. And for some reason, some people think it's a good idea for us to put religious symbols in our public schools, like the 10 Commandments. And it's like, and some people say, well, what's the harm, right? Well, it's just like putting stuff up. And it's less about I think that this is actively going to harm kids because there's a sign that has rules on it. It's more just it's the precedent that sets, right? Because we have a First Amendment for a reason, right? Not to establish laws against or not to set laws in respect to the establishment of a religion, right? So this means that we shouldn't be able to privilege religion at all, period, in any public capacity whatsoever. That means at your local government buildings, that means at your federal government buildings. I don't think that should be a thing, period. Because of people like you and me that exist in the world. I don't think Christians should be able to be this is a Christian country and only Christians have a say of what gets put where. I don't think that's democratic. I don't think that's true to American values. And I don't think that that's true to being a decent human being. So some people say, it's historical reasons, it's a historical landmark, but that's also not true.
That is a garbage. The historical argument is a garbage legal argument that was crafted whole cloth from a Christian nationalist agenda. And I saw something recently about this specific instance with Louisiana. And again, I mean, in Tennessee, we have, you know, In God We Trust on all of our schools and stuff now. You know, they do crap like this every so often. But I saw a post recently online from Andrew Seidel, who has worked with a bunch of you know, nonprofit groups, advocacy groups, fighting for that separation of religion and government. Again, something we are absolutely in support of, right? And he's a wonderful guy. He's always got great stuff. But he made this really, really good point, I thought, which was the 10 Commandments that the Louisiana you know, legislature voted on, right, was specifically a Protestant version of the 10 Commandments. So by putting up this religious symbol, okay, they have already alienated people in their own group.
Yeah.
In Louisiana, a state that is largely Catholic.
Yeah.
It's baffling. It's baffling.
Yeah. Yeah. There's, but I'm not, as somebody who is born inLouisiana, I'm not surprised that.
Oh,
Louisiana
yeah. No.
You know,
yeah. We're in the South. Yeah. No, I see it.
Of something like this happening. I mean, I don't know. It's just very silly. I feel like there's only so much you can really say about it before you're blue in the face, you know. But I don't know. Maybe there's genuinely some people that'll call in today to disagree. In fact, we actually have quite a bit of callers. If you want to go ahead and jump right into it, you want to do it?
Yeah, heck yeah, man. Let's. We do have a good few.
Yeah, we do have a good few. So I think we should take some. But before we get started, Elliot, we got to thank the patron of the week, because every single week we're always giving a shout out to the folks who donate on the Patreon. Thank you to everybody that donates to that Patreon. That money goes to the atheist community of Austin, which is the place that, you know, kind of features this show. So thank you to everybody that donates there. Lets them know that, hey, Truth Wanted is a show that's worth supporting. But this week's patron of the week is going to be Maxwell Carlisle. Thank you so much, Maxwell Carlisle, and thank you to everybody that donates on the Patreon. You guys rock. And of course, as always, we do have super chats enabled as well. And as long as they're YouTube appropriate, we will be reading them and showing them on the screen in a nice little animation this time. So shout outs to everybody that donates. You guys are very, very cool in all the various ways that you do support the show. But let's get to it. We have an interesting call right here that I think I'm going to take first. We have Howard calling in from Spain. I don't know if we've had callers from Spain on Truth Wanted before. I could be wrong, but Howard, you're live on Truth Wanted. What's going on?
¿Qué pasa, amigo?
Hey, guys. Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Bien.
Oh my God, shut up. I hate you, Elliot.
I don't know that much Spanish. I barely know.
You're doing the stupid American thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to speak the two words I know in this other language to you know.
Yo sé más que una palabra.
All right. Okay. All right.
I'm impressed. That's quite good.
No. I just wanted, just because Dan poked at me. Okay, shut up. I'm sorry. You'll never let me back on, Howard. No, go. What's your topic?
What's going on, Howard?
No, I have to say the way that you pronounce the words and your accent is pretty good.
Oh, well, thanks. See? Well, suck it, Dan. Go ahead, Howard. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's great. That's great. So yeah, thanks for having me on. I am a theist. I'm searching for truth via investigation. I believe that for me, that's my religion, and promoting participation in the scientific method to others, I believe, is the best form of worship. So I believe that being agnostic or gnostic in theism is the only real rational positions to hold, because I think like someone that considers themselves a Christian or a Muslim or an atheist has a confirmation bias, because they're leaning towards a belief or a lack, or claiming a lack of belief, which I think is ridiculous, because there's plenty of evidence. I just believe that confirmation bias chooses us to ignore things that conflict with our preconceived ideas.
What evidence do you think exists? I mean, we don't know each other, Howard, but I can tell you that, Dan and I, we both really enjoy evidence. We both are really comfortable with the idea of being proven wrong and shown where we're just not understanding something, right? So maybe there's some information out there that you've come across that we haven't. So if you think like, oh my gosh, the evidence is overwhelming for the existence of a God of any kind, like, please, man, we're here for it. Like, that's what we want.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I totally understand where you're coming from. In today's era, we're all suffering with an information overload. And if we're not careful and verifying the sources, it's very easy to be misled, even with scientism. Without trying to offend anyone, I'm hoping that you guys can prove me wrong, because I look at what the position I believe is called strong atheism, which I believe also known as angry atheists. I think that they maintain blind faith in scientific consensus by attacking the character rather than addressing the evidence-based arguments that theists bring. And on the other side, I see, I think it's called soft atheism, or I would, with all due respect, say arrogant atheists who maintain blind faith in a scientific consensus by dismissing alternative ideas and new information, unwilling to follow the evidence or entertain alternative conclusions due to having the confirmation bias, like I say. So hopefully you guys can prove me wrong, because today, I'm, as well as mentioning quickly that historically, well, first I'll tell you my claim.
Yeah.
I wrote it in the, but just for the sake of the audience that didn't read what I wrote before I got on, my question is, why do atheists ignore the existence of Lucifer when we can all see the light bearer with the naked eye?
See, this is where you lost me, because this is like this was what was written down from the call screener, and so I was kind of waiting for us to get to this part, because I have no idea what you mean. What do you mean we can't see Lucifer? Do you think
Dan.
that there's like a being like out there that's doing stuff? Like, what do you mean?
Like I said, I believe that we can all see the light bearer with the naked eye. It's just due to what we've been programmed to believe. We ignore the evidence, that we ignore the truth in plain sight. See, historically...
But what is, are you talking about like Lucifer from the Bible?
Yeah.
Like that Lucifer?
Yeah, explain that to us just a little bit more, because that's where Dan and I, like, we understand what you say when you say like atheists ignore, right? And when you say like see with the eye, we get that part. But when you say the Lucifer, the light bearer part, I genuinely have no reference for what you're talking about. Are you just saying like, because I see the sunrise in the morning?
No, like you're not far off. I'll get there in 2 seconds. Like historically, we see religious and mythological texts, temples, statues, artifacts, even astrology and alchemy all point to Venus being Lucifer and Satan being Saturn.
Okay, but that's not true though, because not all world religions have a concept of Lucifer.
And we also know that Venus was interchanged. We know that the morning star and the evening star is Venus, and that was interchanged for goodness and badness in biblical understanding. It interchanged between being Jesus and Lucifer. That's why there are these people called the Gnostics a long time ago, the Essenes and so forth, with the Dead Sea Scrolls, where they were like, no, y'all got it wrong. God's actually a dick. He is actually Satan in the Bible. So like that just right there is not true, like Dan said. So if that's the basis for this,
I think not to get ourselves crossed over details, because I'm sure you guys are well versed in many.
No, it's not. Well, we're not getting crossed over details. You made a claim, and this was your first bit of evidence, which I presume was your strongest because you started with it. If not, that's fine. But we're telling you it's bad evidence. That you're saying that why are we denying Lucifer when we can see it with the naked eye? I don't even. I guess you mean the star or the planet rather. I don't know what you mean, because like just because cultures have some ideas of Venus or some ideas of Lucifer, it doesn't mean that we should believe it. That's not seeing things with the naked eye. It's very different from what you just claimed.
Mm-hmm.
No, I understand. I was just trying to build some context for the audience because they're not maybe as well versed as you guys. So when I'm talking about ancient cultures, all worshipping what we call the planets or the wandering stars, the 7 celestial bodies. So the Aztecs, the Mayans, they all had sun worship, moon worship. Each of the planets was named as
they had very different
named after the planet.
They had very different ideas about planetary bodies and stars. They did not have the same ideas. They all looked to the stars, and most of those cultures you mentioned inform their mythologies in some ways, but they are not the same. I don't think you can sit here and say, oh, they're all talking about the same thing. I mean, like, technically, yes, they're all talking about like the same stars, but like it's definitely not the same stories, right? So I don't know why.
I agree.
You know,
I'll get there. I'm sorry, I'm taking the scenic route. Like I said, I'm just trying to explain with context that all the different cultures had different names and different stories, but they all worship the same 7 celestial bodies that we see.
So right there, Howard. Yeah.
I don't agree.
Yeah, hang on, Howard. Yeah, I'm 100% with Dan, and I think you just laid it out really perfect there. You said they all worship the same 7, and that is just so demonstrably untrue, right? There are cultures today that have an extended history way back into human civilization, and they don't have that shit. They just don't. So that right there isn't, if you want to change just a little bit, Howard, we will let you roll it back and say the vast majority. I'd probably agree with that. I think maybe most is the better qualifier here, but I'd even go so far as to say the vast majority. But if you say all, man, that's a problem because we know it's not true.
Yep.
I appreciate the correction, Elliot. I misspoke. I shouldn't say all because I haven't studied all and I haven't spoken to all. And I don't know if there's
I respect that
don't exist anymore for us to study. So I appreciate what you said. I was wrong. I would say the vast majority of religions and astrology set points to the 7 same celestial bodies. Some worship the sun more, some worship the moon more. Hence why we might get a crescent moon on the mosques, and the sun behind Jesus Christ in the churches. So there's a lot of hidden symbology behind a lot of the religions that even the people don't realize they're part of. But what
does that lead you to is where I want to go. What does that lead you to? I appreciate you correcting and taking that criticism so well, Howard. And so okay, so I'm with you. Vast majority, fine, we'll take it. Where does that lead you to? Does that lead you towards the truth of these stories?
I think he was literally just about to say it.
I'm so sorry.
Go ahead, Howard.
No, that's fine. I'm really enjoying the conversation, and your guys' decorum and everything's great. Thank you. Compared to other hosts that I've tried to talk to, I'm really impressed. So thank you. So yeah, let's talk the science. Well, we can all make a primary observation of Venus, the morning star, as you said, flickering bright in the blue morning sky, while the sun is rising behind it. So that's observation 1. And we'll go back to it in a sec, but observation 2 would be a primary observation of Venus, the evening star, flickering bright again in the evening blue sky, while the sun is setting behind it. So as we can't we can't reproduce a physical body or a gas giant to make its own light, and we know that when something has a light source behind it, it's not going to reflect light that's behind it towards us. So we can see that it's not reflecting sunlight if the sun's behind it. So if it's emitting its own light and it's in a higher dimension than us, it's flying or floating around in the sky, emitting its own light, and all the ancient cultures worshipped it. And the Vatican have got the largest telescope in the world to look at it.
I'm really confused,
like
Dan.
Maybe the ancients, I'll get there, maybe the ancient cultures and the actual Vatican that are spying on Venus with the largest telescope they named Lucifer, maybe this is why. It's because it is a higher dimensional being, able to do things out of our scientific understanding.
Like
supernatural.
The planet Venus. The planet Venus is a higher dimensional being.
Okay.
It seems so, and moonlight seems to.
I don't think it seems so. Here's why, Howard. Because Venus does not produce its own light, right? We see it because of the light that is reflected from the sun. Now, you mentioned if a sun is behind it, then we shouldn't be able to see it. And the thing is, Venus is pretty much never directly in front of the sun, at least relative to our position, right? We are always seeing it from an angle, you know, based on the sunlight that's coming towards us. I mean, it's literally why we have the phases of the moon that we do, right? Like, I know you saw the eclipse probably just a few months ago, right? Where, yeah, we couldn't see it because the moon was like directly in front of it there, but like Venus is not always like directly in front of the sun relative to us. So that's why we see the light from it. So I think the mystery's solved there. I don't think it's a higher dimensional being.
That's okay for you to think so, but I've been investigating this for years and making my own observations, and
It's awesome. Astronomers have been investigating longer, and they've been able to come to this conclusion a long time ago. Yeah, I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel here, Howard. Why do you have to go against the grain here on what every person who's seriously studied and spent their life talking about this stuff has? Like, why do you think you know better than them on this?
Well, I totally appreciate your honesty. You see, you've just admitted that you're going to maintain blind faith in the scientific consensus exactly how I predicted, rather than look into the new information.
As opposed to just making shit up? Like, Howard, you're literally just making shit up, right? Like, you're just saying that Venus is a higher dimensional being. Why? What method did you use to come to that conclusion? Just because...
That's what I was wondering.
What your own observations? Like
what criteria did you use? Like, for instance, there are some of these astronomer sciencey folks who say things like, hey, Venus actually has this intensely thick band of clouds that just surrounds this planet that ultimately makes the rocky planet one of the hottest surfaces of a planet in our solar system. Super cool little fun fact. Not actually Mercury, it's Venus because of the cloud cover. But hey, cool. But like, they have criteria for that. They say, we look at a telescope, we get certain signals, we find certain chemical structures, and then that tells us this. What criteria do you have to indicate that Venus may actually be a higher dimensional being?
Well, like I said, I've made my own primary observations. Many people are now, because they're questioning the narratives that we've been taught to believe when we were young. And that's
sure, but like, Howard, if I said to you, dinosaurs definitely fucking exist in my state. Like, I live in Tennessee. I don't know how much you know about it. Has a shit ton of caves all throughout Tennessee and Kentucky. I've actually traveled through a surprising amount of those caves for an individual. There are dinosaurs down there. They're alive, bro. I'm sure you believe me now, right? The Stegosaurus and the T-Rex, they're all under those cave systems. Do you believe me with that? Or do you want just maybe a little bit more criteria from me to determine whether or not I know what I'm talking about when I say dinosaurs are alive?
Well, this is my point. I'm not actually believing in a story. I'm actually saying if you make a primary observation, you'll get the same results. And nobody can demonstrate something reflecting light from behind it. That's my whole point.
But Dan already answered that.
You can, though.
Yeah, Dan answered that.
Yeah, it's Mercury, or Venus and Mercury, but Venus is not directly in front of the sun relative to our position.
Sun, Venus.
Right?
Look at that.
So relative to our position, right? When the eclipse happened, the moon was in front of the sun, but only relative to our position. That's why we couldn't see the front of it, right? But that doesn't mean that there was no light that was bouncing off the moon. It's just at the angle it was at, right? It were again, relative to our position in front of us, the sun could not reach that. So that's why it looks dark. Okay. So with Venus, which is a completely different planetary body, millions, I'm pretty sure, yeah, millions of miles further, right? On a completely different orbit, not away from the Earth. We are just seeing the light that's reflected off of it. In fact, if you I don't know if you saw in your observations, but you would probably also see that you don't see the front of Venus all the time, that it also has its own shadows, that it's also on Venus. And that's because its position relative to us from the sun is going to do that. That's just that. And I'm not looking at telescopes every day, right? But we can still make predictions about where Venus is going to be in the sky every day because of this. And that's what makes science really cool. Like, I don't think if it's an interdimensional being that it would be able to, you know, I don't know, go with the laws of physics like that. I think it would probably just want to do its own thing. But for some reason, it tends to act exactly like a planetary body, like we'd expect it to. And that's why we've come to the conclusions that we have.
I'm with you, Dan.
You're assuming that it's got a shadow and it's not partially illuminated instead of so if it's emitting its own light and it has phases like the moon, and like I tried to mention before, moonlight measurably chills water. You can leave a glass of water in the moonlight for half an hour and check it with a thermometer, and even manipulate the effect with a magnifying glass, which proves that moonlight isn't a reflection of sunlight either. And that's probably
wait, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Hold on. We're going on a tangent here, but I gotta know what you just said. Wait, what? Wait, you put a magnifying glass on water and the moonlight, it's different.
Moonlight
than
is
sunlight?
colder. I've heard this, that moonlight is colder. I mean,
I haven't heard about this.
Yeah, I think there may be a good indication as to why when one experiences moonlight, one also experiences a drop in temperature, but we'll come back to that.
Wait, but Howard, do you not agree that Venus has like has phases, like that it has shadows cast on it?
No, I just said it has phases, but the assumption that it's a shadow causing the phase, that's not demonstrable. Just like the moon might not be a shadow, it actually might be partial illumination. And when
why would partial illumination be a better hypothesis than it's a shadow? Why would partial illumination be a better hypothesis in your eyes, Howard?
Yeah.
Because we can see the sun and the moon are the same size in our perspective. We're told that the sun is 4 times bigger.
Do you not think that we went to the...
I'm finished. Let him cook. Let him cook, Elliot. Go ahead, Howard.
Thank you, Dan. So I'm just going off what we can measure and observe for ourselves. And measuring the temperature of water go down after 30 minutes.
No. Go back. I want to talk about the shadows, because you have the idea that it is a more plausible explanation that the moon and Venus are emitting their own light source than the giant ball of gas that's in the middle of our, solar system. Like, why do you think, like...
Yeah, definitely. Because, just like Elliot said, we are told that they can look at something and tell us what it's made of and what's inside it and all that. Yet if I put a dustbin at the end of your street, no technology that we have can tell you what's inside that dustbin.
Yes, it can.
At the end of
what are you talking about?
First of all, Howard, there's a reason why we can tell about the elements of stars and planets, right?
Yeah.
And it has to do with the way that we can observe the spectrum of light that is emitted from the stars, right? We can tell about its core and what it's made of from understanding that it's called spectroscopy is the science. I learned about this when I took astronomy in college, right? And you can do this for not just our sun, but for other stars as well. I mean, it's because of the fact that it is what it is. It's because of the fact that it does emit in the way that it does that we can tell from this. A dustbin doesn't emit, particles in that way. So we don't know that it's a what's in a dustbin, but there are other ways we could know what's in a dustbin, like if we examine X-rays, I guess, or if we examine other kinds of spectrum. So I don't know if I agree with you there, Howard.
Yeah, as of 2020, Howard, as of 2020, the Soviet Union, the United States, the European Space Agency, and Japan have conducted missions. These missions to Venus account to at least 3 dozen plus. And in the process of sending these objects, these man-made objects, clearly out of our atmosphere towards Venus on a trajectory, these detectors picked up some of these chemical signals and sent that information back to us. So not only do we have looking at the light spectrum, which is demonstrable time and time again, but we've also literally sent fucking boxes into space and been like, get some stuff, bring it back. And it tells us stuff. Like that has happened. Do you not think that has happened?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought you'd finished.
No, it's okay.
With all due respect, Elliot, you see, this is my whole point. You guys are not skeptics as you claim to be. When it comes to the United Nations, who are behind all of the space agencies, you don't have any skepticism in the information that they give. When we talk,
did I ever say that? When
Howard,
did that
let me be clear. I'm very skeptical of the claims you're
Yeah.
making right now. So if that counts me in some sort of field of skeptic, that's definitely it. Like, there are reasons to be skeptical about governments and the way that they handle things. I talked about this like 2 weeks ago. Carl Sagan helped the American government figure out how we could nuke the moon. Right?
See,
Like that's a real thing that happened, right? That we found out decades after the fact, because Carl Sagan's biographer was looking up stuff about him and found this paper that he worked on for the US government. Obviously that plan didn't go through, but yeah, those kinds of conspiracies and stuff happen all the time. What we're talking about here though is something different. We're not talking about individual plans. We're talking about like institutional knowledge that has been happening long before the US has been a thing, long before the UK has been a thing, long before any of the institutions you mentioned have been a thing, that have been able to come to observations about space and what's in it, right? Like this isn't just would be that NASA lying or the UN or whatever. This would be all of human history. Like this is something like way bigger than that, if that to be the case. And I don't see any reason to believe that. I just don't think that that's plausible or reasonable.
Well, Dan, let me challenge your epistemology. What is stronger evidence? Primary information or secondary information? Go.
It depends.
Well, that if you're talking about, you have to first of all define what primary versus secondary information means, right? So for example, if we're talking in a context about reporting on information, a news institution like the AP, for example, if they're reporting on a situation that occurred, they would be a primary source. If they're reporting on the events of what eyewitnesses saw, for example. If we were talking about somebody who's writing a book about an event and they're citing the AP, that would be a secondary source. Okay, so that's like one way you can word this stuff. I'm assuming you mean primary as in me looking at stuff, and secondary being somebody else looking at stuff. But even then, that's incredibly unreliable in its own right, because I'm not an expert in many things, and I would want people who are experts to be able to tell me about observations that are being made. But even beyond that point, I don't have to be a subject matter expert in every single field to at least understand the consensus of basic facts, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that I have absolute knowledge of something, but I can at least have within a reasonable degree of confidence that something I believe is to be true because of the institutions that uphold that. Doesn't mean it's absolutely true, but I would rather put my trust in that than just like somebody saying, hey man, I made my own observations and I think that this is different from literally everybody else that has done observations, right?
Yeah.
But it isn't. I'm actually saying if you make the primary observations of the Venus, and if you check moonlight with a thermometer and a magnifying glass, you will get the same results. So my question
how do you know? How do you know that your test has accounted for all the potential factors that could screw with it? How do you know that you have adequately put safeguards in place to get a reliable conclusion? I may get the same result you did in this test, but if the test is flawed, how would we know?
Yeah, more importantly, even like, okay, the temperature of the light is different. Why does that lead you to the conclusion that the light is being emitted from an independent planetary body? Then just maybe there's something you haven't accounted for, right?
Yeah,
like Elliot said, moonlight, I guess if you're going to, I don't even know, you're not really measuring moonlight. First of all, you're measuring temperature of water. Okay, let's be clear about that. You're not measuring light temperature. Okay, it's going to be colder at night because night's usually colder. Like that's just, that seems pretty obvious to me, right? Like why on earth would I ever come to the conclusion that yes, the water is colder, that must mean that the moon is emitting its own light that's separate from the sun? Like that doesn't make sense. That's not reasonable.
Yeah, it's definitely a non sequitur.
Please forgive me. I didn't explain the whole procedure because I'm on point and I haven't got my screen share and my notes. But the idea is that you leave 2 or even 3 or 4 glasses of water outside in your garden. You can put out the glass on top of a book or something that's neutral. The idea is you compare glasses of water that are in the direct moonlight to glasses of water that are shaded from the moonlight, not sheltered, because that would cause radiative cooling. And the idea of using a magnifying glass is to verify the independent variable, because when you can manipulate the effect, then you're more certain of the cause to that effect. So yeah, this isn't something I'm asking you to believe. I'm promoting that people participate.
I need you to understand. You're sticking a thermometer in the water, right?
After 30 minutes, you verify if the temperatures are the same. The temperature
you are measuring the temperature of a liquid, right?
Yes, in comparison to moonlight and moon shade, and the magnifying glass magnifies the effect even more, chills the water even more. Just like if you use a magnifying glass, it magnifies the heat.
Okay, so in other words, in darker areas, the water is going to be cooler.
No,
right?
he's saying in the moonlit areas, it's cooler than in the shade. Yeah. Yeah, that's why he's saying
now
the moonlight.
now I'm picking up what you're putting down. Okay.
I guess one thing that's really interesting too. Hang on just a second, Howard. This is just a thought that I've been having this whole time, which I don't know that it's going to go anywhere necessarily, but I'm really intrigued by the concept of cool light. Like light that actually has less energy than the energy around it. Because, and believe me, I'm no lightologist, but my understanding is that light in general has a bunch of energy, and that is why things get hot, right? That's why like light bulbs and stuff get hot in part, is because it's producing energy and it's putting off heat, right? It's like a byproduct. Am I crazy there, Dan? Am I sort of on the right spot there?
No, I think you're crazy.
Well, that's fine. I just threw it out there. Go ahead, Howard.
Can I answer? Thanks. So yeah, I'm not certain if it's that the light is cool or that if it's chilling. I would say it's chilling. That's what I can verify. I don't know if the light gives cold or if it takes heat. I understand that there's polarity in magnetism, in electrics, in everything that we see in nature. So I assume that the sun is a proton and the moon is the electron in this big atom, this atmosphere. And I'm just trying to explain that things we can verify are that moonlight chills, that the sun, when situated behind Venus, shouldn't allow Venus to flicker so brightly in the blue sky, but it does.
Do you think, Howard, do you think that the current and then honestly, Dan, I'm good to move on whenever you are, man. Howard, do you think that the current consensus of science is that moonlight has a chilling effect? Would you say yes or no? Like,
I'd say that we should all follow.
No. Hang on. We can go anywhere else in just a second, okay? But I just want to know, because I have another very important follow-up question after this. Do you think currently, if we went around and polled a bunch of scientists that have any type of expertise in this field, do you think they would come to the conclusion that you come to? Yes or no? There's no wrong answer here. I just want to know your thoughts on this. I would say probably not.
Can I answer? That if their expertise is
yes or no, Howard? Yes or no? This is not a super. Hang on, Howard. I think we're good now. Okay, Howard, brother, we've been having a good conversation. I'm not trying to be a dick here. I'm not trying to be an asshole. Genuinely, I have a very important question. All you have to do is say either yes or no. It doesn't say jack shit about your intelligence. Doesn't say that you're being an asshole. Just answer yes or no, okay? Do you think if we polled a bunch of scientists right now, they would say, yeah, we're actually on Howard's side? Or do you think they would be more likely to say, no, we disagree with Howard's conclusion? Which one?
I would say the majority would disagree because they follow the consent.
Okay. No, hang on. It doesn't matter why. We can figure out why in just a second, but they would disagree. I agree with that, Howard. I think that is probably the stance. Now, here's my question that I actually care about, which is why do you think if we actually had good information to demonstrate that moonlight had a chilling effect, why do you think people would be so radically against that? That doesn't seem to me as if it's something that is paradigm shifting. It just seems to me like a cool fact of nature. Why would all these scientists be so hardcore against your conclusion?
Because it would debunk their worldview, Elliot. And that's why people maintain confirmation bias and don't verify things. I went on national Spanish television and offered 10,000 for people to demonstrate counter evidence, and they didn't even try. And I spoke about this to Forrest and Armin, and they just literally went to ridicule and slander instead of addressing the point that I was making.
And I don't think Dan and I have either. I don't think either of us have ridiculed or slandered or anything. Sometimes we've been a little direct. I did cut you off a few times there, brother. But seriously, I think the answer you gave me, Howard, is a bit more telling of you than it is of the scientists. And here's why. Because at no point in time that I can remember have Dan and I said the reason you're drawing your conclusions is because you just have a biased faith-based position. We honestly heard you out, tried to get as much clarifying information as we possibly could, and then presented the information that we had available to say, hey, man, that just doesn't seem to hold water so well. And I think the vast majority of those scientists would be able to do that even better in even greater detail than Dan and I did, because that's their field of expertise. So I just always feel bad when somebody is like, yeah, I just think people are so fucking biased, they'll never believe it, So I would just kind of say, hey, man, maybe they're not, maybe they're not. But anyway, I thought it was a pretty good call, to be honest, Howard. I don't know how you felt, Dan. I enjoyed it. So,
yeah, while you folks were talking, I just found answersresearchjournal.org, which is a young Earth creationist website that actually did this test to see
what'd they get.
They think their conclusion was actually that the moonlight actually may have caused a heating effect.
Oh, snap!
By their observations. Which is very interesting.
That is.
Which, of all people, I would not expect the young Earth creationist folks to actually go against the position. But I guess, they're not flat Earth folks, so it would be different. But anyway, Howard, I hear what you're saying, right? It can be frustrating when people aren't listening to you because you've done some work on this clearly, and you want to show your conclusions to other people. I don't like that you've done this on national television because I do think that you are, unfortunately, telling people things that aren't true, but I don't think that's your fault. I think that you really do think that stuff is true. This is something that's going to be so specific and such a specific part of the science that I would encourage you to actually, if you really want to hash it out, find somebody who does actually do this stuff for a living, who not only does astronomy, but maybe also talks about, atmosphere, right? Or studies the Earth or studies what the related science that you are interested in, and maybe that conversation will be more fruitful, and maybe they can explain to you in more technical detail, which I think is what you want, why you're seeing the results that you're seeing. Because I can't really go with a lot of stuff that I'm hearing from a call-in show. You know what I mean? Like that. I don't think that's a good way. If we were talking about good epistemologies, Howard, if I was just to change my mind about something that I heard because somebody on my call-in show told me about it one time, I think you'd agree that's not a great way for me to change my mind about it either. Maybe if you had some good reasoning for it, maybe if you were able to demonstrate stuff, which I think you've at least tried to do, that'd be one thing. But like at this point in time, I don't think what I've heard is at least enough so far. But anyway, I think I've said my piece. I think we both said our piece on it. And we gotta let you go because we got some other people we gotta talk to. And we went a little long on this call, but that's okay. Thank you, Howard, for calling in though. Seriously, and talking to us, because that does take some cojones, some
he took criticism. He took criticism.
Well,
I appreciate that, Howard.
To most folks who come in with their positions, but what am I supposed to say? No, I don't believe the sun is an interdimensional being, or Venus, or the moon, or whatever.
The moon is really definite. I feel really, really confident that we went to the moon. I feel very, very confident about that. I feel like there is such overwhelming evidence out there to demonstrate to everybody's satisfaction that we had to have gone to the moon, you guys. I just really feel confident about that, okay? And anybody that doesn't have that confidence, just, you know what to do. We hear all the time. Just call us and we'll talk with you.
You want to talk about direct observations? I'm literally reading a young Earth creationist that has put together there's tables and charts here, all right? I'm seeing
this moon thing, for the moonlight stuff.
And he is disproving this idea. So he did the work. And if you want to talk about primary observations, why aren't we listening to this guy's primary observations? Sounds like he did some stuff, right? But that's the thing. We don't listen to single scientists on things. We just unless you're a specialist in the field and you're talking about cutting edge stuff, I have to trust other people who do this stuff for a living in order for me to do anything. Doesn't mean it's right all the time. It just means I have to be practical in some circumstances. Come on, we're talking about a radically different worldview here that isn't going to change just because some temperature differences are there. I don't know. Maybe there's some other stuff that he could show us, but that's not enough. That's not enough for me. Let's move on. We got some super chats I need to read. We got Paku gave $5 way back before the call started. Actually, I think they said watch Truth Wanted or watch the hockey game. Quandary. Kidding. There's really no contest. Oh, thank you, Puck.
Depends on who's playing, right? Depends on who's playing, right?
I'm playing, son. It's my game tonight. You forgot that I'm him. You understand? Just got my test back. I'm 100% Himalayan. That's that Dracula Flow video. I'm just copying that. But anyway, Nero. Super chat from Nero, who gave $5. Who said, "Arago spot, what is it? What are we reading here? Arago spot, poison spot, Fresnel spot, light waves diffracting around a sphere constructively interfere and create a bright spot on the back." I think I've heard of something like that. I'm not going to speak to it because I don't know. I don't know anything about it. But that is plausible as well. So maybe that's something else for Howard to look into if you would like. But in another super chat we have from William Matz, who said, it was a new member too, gave $5. William Mattis, who said, "Hey folks, how's it going? Staying hydrated, eating well. Don't forget to take time for yourselves."
Yes.
Thanks, William.
I
think I will.
I will too.
I think I will. That sounds nice.
I will do that.
It's a very busy week. I'd like to relax a little bit, but I still got a show to run, and you got a show to co-host with me. We took a long time with that call, but I enjoyed it. I think it was good. So let's get to another call here. I want to talk to, and please tell me if I'm wrong in the pronunciation. Please correct me. I see Kyna from Washington. Kyna?
Kyna. It's pronounced Kyna.
Kyna. Thank you so much, Kyna. You're live on Truth Wanted. What's going on?
Well, first, I feel like I need to clarify. After who just called, I'm calling more for a reality check than as a serious. I'm gonna prove the scientists wrong and philosophers and things.
Okay, good.
So what I want to call about? What I want to call about is that I think that utilitarianism is an excellent tool for navigating moral situations, but I think as a moral foundation, it's actually pretty shaky.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you.
Not the problem. Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. So check it. Okay. The way I would. So when I read this, while you were waiting in the queue, like I definitely was like, oh yeah, I think I agree. I didn't know your name was pronounced Kyna at the time, but yeah, I was like, I think I agree with Kyna because utilitarianism can't be the basis, right? Because the basis is your goal, right? And so what I would say there is then that, kind of concept of well-being, right? That's currently the thing that I have in that spot. And normally when I talk about morality, what I often say when comparing different moral systems and the goals of them, I often say, it appears to me in every moral system I've ever come across, well-being is a main component. And I believe that pretty much every other system out there is not as consistent when it comes to the application and flourishing of well-being and so forth. Like achieving that goal is not as easily accomplishable in a consistent manner as it is with some type of complex utilitarianism. It's not just simply, right, pain and pleasure. It's not just +1, -1. It's a lot more complex. It has a lot of different aspects to it that basically say, without these safeguards in place, these kind of overarching bullet points, you can't really get to these higher levels of flourishing. So yeah, I think in large part, Kyna, I agree. I agree that utilitarianism isn't, as a basis, doesn't really make a lot of sense, but as a way to navigate and get to whatever that goal is that people have, yeah, I'm with you. So,
yeah, I'm the same way. I'm more inspired by like J.L. Mackie. I'm more of a moral skeptic in general. I definitely don't believe in like an objective morality, but if I were to describe my own morality, which I think is socially constructed and ultimately like a subjective construct that is intersocially and communicatively, I guess, developed between myself and my environment, I would say that I'm a negative consequentialist. I think that matches up more with my personal ethic, because yeah, I for everything that Elliot said, utilitarianism on its own kind of doesn't make sense unless you put human beings with their own wants and desires in front of it, which kind of messes up with the whole system. But anyway, that's
and I agree with what you said there about moral skepticism and like morality being this constructed thing. I just think that makes the most sense. And because of that, again, how do we then navigate that with our goal being flourishing? Anyway, please go ahead, Kyna.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, a lot of that was what I was going to say. The other thing I was going to say is the main thing I wanted to reality check on, I guess, is that I basically decided on what I want to put at the bottom. Like basically what is validating the utilitarianism as basically agency. And I have would you mind? Because I have a syllogism and I don't know if it's a well-formed syllogism, and if it's bad, then I want to know, because
you want us to vibe check your syllogism.
We'll do it.
Go ahead.
We'll do it.
Awesome. Okay. So 1, I want what I want. 2, others want what others want. 3, I do not always have full control over my situation. 4, therefore, my wants are most likely to be fulfilled when they can be made compatible with others' wants.
Yeah, I think there's a break there. I think I'm kind of generally following following
look at
along.
Elliot right now. He's like doing the Queen's Gambit. He's looking at the ceiling, doing those chess moves.
Because I'm trying to see
crazy.
I'm trying to see if I can see the exact place in the, because it's like a math equation. That's what syllogisms are supposed to be, right? And so I'm trying to see the exact spot where it's, because I don't think you've demonstrated that. Say the conclusion again for me. I think I followed all the premises. Say the conclusion one more time for me, Kyna.
Therefore, my wants are most likely to be fulfilled when they can be made compatible with others' wants.
Okay, so the issue there is you're bringing in something that you haven't fully established in the premise. You tried to when you talked about the control, right? So what you were talking about was and I want what I want and others want what they want is tautological in and of itself. So maybe there's a bit of an issue there too. But just on actually following the chain, you didn't demonstrate in the premises that by working with others you establish more control for yourself, right? So you did mention, and I think it's correct in the sense that you're saying, oh man, when I have more control over the situation, the likelihood of me achieving my goals is greater. I'm with you there. Okay, maybe there's some pushback. We could find some paper, but I think we can grant that. The issue is you didn't establish that by working with others, you have that control, right? It could very much be the case that by working with others, you ultimately will achieve less control overall, right? So I think that would be one place where I would definitely push back on. Another place, again, with the I want what I want and others want what they want. I think there's a better way of saying that can get the point that you're trying to get to. But yeah, I think again, overall, I'm kind of following along and I'm kind of digging the argument. But I think there are some actual aspects of it that would need to be tweaked a little bit before it's valid, at least.
Okay. Could you elaborate on what you think is wrong with the first two? Because for me, the fact that they're tautologically true is like part of what it's hinging on, because if it were debatable, then I don't think it'd be very solid.
Well, so the problem with tautological statements outside of a small handful of them, which we tend to call like axioms or presuppositions, the problem is that the more of those types of things that we have in any particular system, it's just a game. It's just a game of numbers. If I only have 3 tautologies and you have 4 tautologies in how you construct your system, like I win because I don't have to guess as much on this other thing, right?
Wait, hold on. I don't believe that actually, because I'm gonna make up like one tautology, which is I'm right because I'm right.
Oh well, fuck you, Dan.
Well, I win though because I only have one. So.
Well, no, it has to actually be something that can achieve further progress in the conversation.
This is the problem. This is the problem with moral philosophy. This is why I am a social constructivist about ethics, because we're all just talking about what people want, and that's all ethics is to me at the end of the day. It's just navigating people's wants, and you can do it in ways that may appear reasonable to one person in one place or time or culture than another, but it's not going to be objective. It's not going to be like math where it's going to be a system that you can perfectly work out. So I just don't even think it's worth trying in most circumstances. But anyway, that's my hot.
I have two. I have 2 quick thoughts on that, and I'm sorry, Kyna. You got Dan and I excited. We're gonna go a little back and forth. No, because I think again the concept of stance independent, ethics and so forth. I'm with Dr. Lance Bush on this. I don't think that really makes sense. I think all moral claims at the end of the day are basically it's just somebody saying like I like this thing, and so then we kind of go towards that. But do you think, Dan? Like theoretically, okay, like the way that we as humans put out a general characteristic list for like oak trees, do you think 750,000 years from now, aliens could do something similar for human beings when it comes to social interaction? And would you consider that quote unquote objective morality. Do you see where I'm going with that,
No,
though?
I
At
don't see
least?
where you're going, actually, because
Okay.
that is dependent on your psychology, right? We are, again, a product of our genetics and also a product of our environment. We are not all psychosocially the same. We do have people that exist in the world today who are what we would commonly refer to as sociopaths, who don't have the same interests as us. And the fact that they're a minority in the population doesn't necessarily mean that they don't reflect something about the human condition, right? So like we human beings, yeah, we have variances, but other sentient, and I would argue sentient, but let's use the term self-sufficient animals on this planet don't have that sense and still navigate themselves in communities and have their own sense of right. I don't see why we can say that we would necessarily be more right or wrong in that circumstance, right?
I don't think it's a right or wrong thing. I think it's like saying when we observe gibbons, the way that gibbons interact with each other adheres to a handful of criteria that are very broad and generalized. That is different than the way, for instance, oak trees interact with other oak trees.
Right.
I think something like that could one day be constructed based on the demonstration of humans interacting with each other. That does actually incorporate. But
I don't understand. You want to base our society on gibbons, Elliot? What are you saying right now?
That's not what I'm saying at all. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying, like, if it were possible that aliens came down today as complete and total outside observers, as humans are when it comes to other animals interacting with each other and their social behaviors, I would think that those outside observers, again, this is all like contingent on aliens coming to us. You don't think that they could construct something that says
you're assuming a psychological profile of aliens that we don't have information on, right? You're assuming that they have similar needs, similar wants, similar interests, and similar.
They would just have to be able to categorize things in a similar manner. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do that.
Self-motivation there too, right? Even the idea, the idea itself that there's an alien species that is scientifically interested in the humans is a psychological profile in itself. You understand what I'm saying? There is that is just mapping human characteristics onto something completely foreign that we can't even.
Do you think other animals don't categorize the types of existences around them? Do you think other animals don't like notice that a ball and like a basketball and a soccer ball are in a different category than like leaves?
No, dude, I think my cat, when I do a little stringy thing in front of it, I don't think it knows the difference between that and a fucking bird. Like, I think it just. Well, I mean, again, it doesn't matter. Even if it has linguistic, because you're thinking of like, this goes into like linguistic categories, right?
I know.
Like, we're going to get into some fucking, some crazy shit. We're going to talk about Noam Chomsky and stuff. We're going to go way too deep. We're already off the deep end here. We need to wrap things up.
Come to the Discord.
Yeah, maybe we can talk more on the Discord. Anyway,
sorry, Kyna.
Kyna, I think hopefully we gave you at least somewhat of an answer here, okay? Because Ellie and I are going to disagree on this, I think.
Well, I don't know that we're even disagreeing. This is the thing. It's just a really interesting conversation. I'm interested in this. I don't know, All right. Yeah, I don't know either, but let's explore. I think this is better explored in the after show in the Discord, because I want to give just a chance for other callers to talk to us and not just you and I flapping our gums about some bullshit. No, it's me. I've already been canceled. I'm never allowed back. So.
I mean, you're here now, so you might as well make the most of it. But anyway, hey, Kyna, thanks so much for calling. Sorry, we got to cut you off here. I know you probably had more you wanted to say, but maybe if you join us in the Discord, we can talk to you some more, and we can do that. But for now, let's talk to some other folks. But real quickly though, I need to talk about the annual back cruise that's happening August 24th. I'm going to be there. You're going to be there. Forrest Valkai is going to be there, and J-Mike's going to be there. Jimmy Jr. is going to be there. Some other people are going to be there as well. So go check that out. tiny.cc/backcruise. It's going to be here in Austin, Texas, baby. So if you got some plans for the summer, or don't have some plans rather, come hang out with us. It's going to be a good time. Yeah. More information is on the website. It's tiny.cc/backcruise for that. And hey, if you want to hear content in audio only form, you can go to tiny.cc/AEN podcast for all of the latest ACA shows. And have you ever thought to yourself, I love Elliot's sweet face so much. I just want to see it 24/7. Well, he's not on there 24/7, but he's on there a lot. You can go to the 24/7 live streams on tiny.cc/axptv and tiny.cc/heathen TV for Talk Heathen as well. And what's fun about those is there's pretty much always people willing to chat on there at pretty much any time of day, which is pretty cool. And last but not least, I need to thank the awesome, amazing crew that put up with us every single week in our BS. Look at this awesome crew.
Woo!
Doing the cool stuff behind the scenes. Thank you, crew, for
Did you see how most of them weren't up there for a second? They were just like, we don't want to be associated with these two.
They were like, this is terrible. They wanted to disown themselves from the show, but they can't because they're here. So so anyway, thank you, crew, for all the work that you guys do, and thank you to everybody watching today as well. You guys have really funny comments and stuff that I've also been taking a look at. But let's take another call, at least one more, maybe two more. We'll see what we can do. Let's talk to Frank Quietly. Frank Quietly from Texas. Frank, you're live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hey, Dan. Hey, Rarity. Happy belated solstice.
Hey. Yeah, same.
Happy belated solstice. Feliz Navidad, I think is what they say.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I know Spanish, so yeah.
Listen, I missed last week's question somehow, but on autocorrect, but I have 10 seconds on that. Can I do that real quick?
10 seconds. Go. 10, 9, 8. I'm just kidding. Just go for it.
A minister, a priest, and a rabbit. A minister, a priest, and a rabbit walk into a bar. And the bartender says to the rabbit, we don't get many rabbits in here. What'll it be? And the rabbit says, I don't drink. I'm only here because of autocorrect.
Yeah, that's good.
God.
That's good.
Oh my
that's
God.
Good. That's good.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's crazy.
Good. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm never letting you do that again, Frank. Never letting you do that again. But so this is it. This is all you got. Be happy that you got what you got there.
I had one other thing. I think we should put Howard in contact with Daniel. They would be best friends forever, I think.
Oh, come on. Don't be hating. Don't be hating on my callers. Okay. We love Daniel. We love Daniel from Canada. He's in the chat right now, I'm pretty sure. So, I do sincerely appreciate Howard calling in and sharing his point of view. But anyway, go ahead, Frank.
I've heard his views. I've heard his views on other channels. He's a nut job. Okay. He's a nut job. But about the 10 Commandments, which version of the 10 Commandments should they be posting? Because there are at least two, maybe three.
Yeah, it was again like I said from the post that I saw from Andrew Seidel, it was a specifically Protestant construction of it. So we could try and pull it up exactly which one they put up, but yeah.
Well, are we supposed to observe the Feast of Unleavened Bread? Because that's in the second version of the 10 Commandments. I
mean, I kind of like matzah, so.
Yeah. I like my favorite one of the alternate second commandments is the one where you gotta boil the baby goat in its mother's milk.
Oh no, you can't do that.
Oh, sorry,
you can't do that.
Sorry, you can't do that.
And honestly, it's frustrating. I do that like once a week. It's very common for me.
Yeah. Very interesting. Obviously, Frank, for viewers at home who don't know this, there are. It's kind of a complex history. I don't know if we have time to talk about it in the short minutes that we have here, but there is a different set of commandments that are talked about in the account that Moses, is bringing down. It's not all, Prince of Egypt, kind of stories here. It's all just kind of different stories put together from maybe inspired by different cultures, but probably were more likely different interpretations of these stories themselves that were kind of put together in the same works. And as a consequence, you have like extra commandments that are, a result of this intermingling of history. It's very weird, but yeah, there are more than 10 commandments of the 10 commandments, which is very bizarre.
Mm-hmm. And Jesus didn't give a crap about most of them.
The entire repertoire. Exactly. What about the 613 mitzvahs? Like shellfish and mixed cloth and field plant. Why don't we post all 613 of those?
Because we've been redeemed. We've been redeemed through Jesus, so we don't have to follow those anymore. Come on now, Frank. Come on now.
We can plant whatever crop we want now, Frank. That's how gracious and loving our God is.
Hell yeah. I love planting my own crops in spite of other deities.
Well,
I look at Thor and I say, "Fuck you! I'm growing sunflowers wherever I want. You can't tell me what to do."
Mother.
Anyway.
Well, it's not going to change anything. It's a way for certain politicians to generate political capital. In the same way we have in God we trust on our money, who cares that we have that on the money, really? It's just a way for Christians, for theists to seek self-assurance and establish a public presence. And the whole Ten Commandments in the classroom thing is just a way to generate political capital. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I get that feeling, and the only kind of it's not even really pushback, honestly, Frank. But the only thing I'll point to is something that Dan kind of mentioned earlier about the encroachment. And so what happens is this type of stuff sets a precedent, and that precedent very quickly rolls out of proportion to the point that our Supreme Court literally outright fabricated facts of an instance where a coach is standing in the middle of a public school's football field, inviting dozens of people to pray to his particular version of Christ and Yahweh. Now, that is absolutely atrocious, in my opinion. That is something that undermines every good value about this country, because what prevents anybody else from going further? The answer is nothing, unless we uphold the separation of religion and government, a founding principle of the United States that these elected individuals are outright going against. That's why I will continue to say it is anti-American to its core. So I gotta hold firm on this, Frank.
Brother.
Separation.
Amen.
I'm a strict separationist. I was a religion major, and I was taught by one of the national authorities on separation of church and state, Dr. Ron Flowers. Anyway, the way the court is now, are we going to make it illegal to work on Sundays? Because that's right up there. That's a big one. Actually, it would be Saturdays, the Sabbath. Are we going to make it illegal to go to work on Saturday now, since we're all about the Ten Commandments? Okay, guys, that's all I had. I love the show. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, thanks, Frank.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah, you're definitely preaching to the choir. I mean, one of our things that we say, or things we say every single beginning of the episode is, what do? We promote atheism, secular humanism, right? And separation of church and state. That's like, that's what we say all the time. So it's, we're right there with you. We definitely don't like violations of church and state, which putting the 10 Commandments in schools just might be.
Unless Dan, okay, I will offer this solution because I am super comfortable with it. Unless we can also get some verses from the Quran, maybe from the Upanishads, definitely the tenets of Satanism. Until I see that, this is an outright violation. Period. End of sentence. There's no question.
Yeah, so. I think so. I do have one more caller here. It's a caller that I personally haven't taken in a while. It's a caller that we always get pushback when we take. So I don't plan on staying on this call long, but I am curious because it does relate to the subject matter. We did say at the very beginning of the show that what would be what is a good reason why we should be having 10 Commandments? And I am curious to hear a reason. So we do have John from Canada who is talking to us. John, I haven't talked to you in a minute. I'm putting you on a short leash, my friend. I would like for you to give me your take, and we're going to keep it at that, okay? We're not going to go on any crazy tangents. We're not going to go on some other stuff. I want to know, why do you think that the 10 Commandments are worth putting up in public schools?
First of all, I'd like to hear from you too, Dan. But that's not what I didn't say that. I just want to know what's your objection to it, because I want to know what the overall problem is. I really want.
Oh, I'm pretty sure we've been saying it this whole show.
I think the last few minutes. I think the last few minutes of my rant there was pretty decent. Do you have a reason as to why? I mean, well, first off, how about this, Dan? Let's take a step back, John.
Well, I am okay. So reading the call screener's notes. He was asking what our objections was.
Correct.
So
correct.
he is in line with the call originally. Sorry, maybe I misread that because I thought that maybe you had a reason.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yours, that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, John. Do you think the 10 Commandments should be prominently displayed like that, required to be displayed in public schools? If you're also on the boat of no already, then cool, we gave you our objection, we're good, brother.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't see a problem. I'm not personally offended. I just want to know why you are offended. Is it because of separation?
Do you see a problem with somebody posting the tenets of Satanism, requiring the tenets of Satanism to be posted in public schools in your area? What about a list of ways to live one's life based on the perfect life of the Prophet Muhammad in your schools? Do you see any problems with those?
How you choose to live your life is your business. I'm not going to tell you how to live it.
You didn't answer the question. This is really simple, John. I'm only being real direct with this because Dan said he short leash.
Let me help here because I know you're a Christian, John, and I know you. And first of all, you have called into the show before, and you have talked about the way other people live their lives. So I don't believe that's true. Yeah. Sorry to say, but do you see why we would have a problem? Do you at least understand why we would think that that's not okay?
No, I that's what I'm asking. That's what I'm calling.
It violates the Constitution. Is there more information that you need from that? Is that not an acceptable answer?
It is a violation of the First Amendment of the Constitution, for one. That is one reason.
Right. That I'm not even sure. I think the moral argument is even better about hey, this is a terrible way to live one's life. But do you think is that not enough? Is that not enough, John?
Do you think the separation of church and state is important, and do you think this would be a violation of that?
I really don't get it. That's the problem. I really don't get it.
Why do you don't believe? Do you not get why it's a violation of the separation of church and state? Is that what you mean?
No, I don't.
Well, because first of all, you're in Canada, so that it's different. But in these great states, okay, we have this thing called the United States Constitution, blessed by the Lord himself. Just kidding, not actually, but we have this thing we've had for a long time, and it has some amendments to it, which is hilarious because amendments are changes. So the Constitution has literally been changed. I mean, maybe additions is a better word.
Tell people
Point is, the First Amendment is one which we personally hold dear because it says we cannot establish a state religion. We cannot make a religion, the one that everybody has to follow. We can't use it as I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but really, it respects the establishment of a religion. There shall be no law that in respect to the establishment of a religion. In other words, we don't privilege religions over each other, period. And this can be for a lot of different reasons. If you're a Christian and you're a Protestant, for example, as we already mentioned, right, you could have some Protestant stuff all over the place in a predominantly Catholic area. You could do the same thing, have a bunch of Catholic stuff in a Protestant area, and that's just between Christians. There's people of all kinds of world beliefs, but the point is, by not having laws that establish one religion as a state religion, then we can have, in theory, religious expression under the Constitution, because we don't have to necessarily adhere to one, guiding government religion that would lead us to do things that we don't necessarily want to do, right? So that is why we believe in that principle. We think it's good for us to follow that principle as Americans, And we think that
I think it's a good principle for everybody, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Just worldwide.
Yeah. But and specifically why it's a violation of this principle, putting the 10 Commandments up, because it is a specifically religious thing, right? It's not secular. It's not based on anything other than a religious idea. So
Does
there you
that
go,
help,
John. Does
John?
that make sense? Yeah.
Are you saying that you want the United States to be completely secular? Is that what you're saying?
United States is secular by its construction, by the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof.
He got it. I didn't have it on tap like that.
I just have that one in the Second Amendment memorized. I have a few weird things like that memorized.
I couldn't remember the exact words off the top of my head. I didn't want to sound stupid, but
no, you got it. No, you hit it.
I think I mostly hit it. But the point is, that's it, right? John, that's in the United
founding
States
document.
DNA. Yeah, that's.
And not only that, the specific things that Dan was mentioning about one Christian sect actively persecuting another Christian sect to the point of the government that was controlled by one of those Christian sects at the time, putting those other citizens in jail, killing them, taking away their property, that type of stuff. And we have lots of instances like that in the first handful of years of our government, where the individuals who actively created the Constitution express in great detail, hey, man, that's not cool. We're secular. So we are secular. It is a founding principle in our government that makes our government continue and progress. And this is a violation of that.
Yep.
Do we need, again, I think there is an even stronger argument with the moral side, but that should be enough.
Yeah. John, what do you think? Does that make sense?
Oh, what about this line, gentlemen? It says right here in the Constitution, it says right here, all men are created equal and under God. Isn't that non-secular? I don't see you arguing about that.
Where is that in the Constitution?
Rights under God.
Where's that in the Constitution? Name the article. Name the article. The Constitution only mentions God once, and it's when it says the date, the year of our Lord, because that was how it was. Name the article.
Oh my God, he's being that guy.
I'll do that.
You sound like a sovereign citizen there for a second there, Elliot. Name the article.
I'm sorry, but this frustrates the shit out of me.
No, I get you.
I know this shit because I love history and I'm fascinated by politics. And for somebody to come in and just go, oh yeah, I know all this shit. Look at this one random document I'm pulling out of my ass that is wrong.
Well,
it's not in there. He said the Constitution, but it's not in there.
No, to be fair, that is stated in the Declaration of Independence, which is, I think, is what he's confusing. But yeah, that's not the same thing. It's a different thing.
Well, wasn't the founding fathers Christian? Weren't they Christian? I want to know.
Some of them were, some of them weren't.
Yeah, no, actively, many of them expressed that they were not Christian. Thomas Jefferson wrote a fucking new Bible. What are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it says here, the familiar, their creator, they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights.
That's the Declaration of Independence.
Yes, that's the Declaration of Independence. It has nothing to do with the founding laws of our country. That is us telling the rest of the world, fuck the UK.
The Declaration of Independence is not our Constitution. It is not a set of laws by which the U.S. government abides by, right? So it's not the same thing.
In the United States, the federal Constitution does not make a reference to God as such, although it uses the formula, the year of our Lord, in Article 7.
Oh, God.
Fucking come at me with this again, dude.
Jesus,
seriously. I'm sorry. This is one of the things where it's like, oh, this is a hot button issue for SR because I just love this shit. I'm fascinated by the creation of our government. I have studied this in fucking an immense amount of detail. I knew that fucking fact, but I double checked it for you, John. Not there.
All right, John, you have like 15 seconds, please. And then we got to wrap things up. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. So I want to ask one question. If they put up the Ten Commandments of, say, Satanism, would you object to that?
Yes, if it was just that and it was required, yes. Because that is a violation of the First Amendment.
There you go, John. Any follow-up questions?
Okay.
Can I drop this mic? It's on a fucking boom arm. Can I drop this real quick?
You can do whatever you want because you live in America, Elliot, and that's your constitutional right. Okay, so
that is
let you go. Thank you for calling. But that's.
I didn't know that I was gonna get so hot like that, but
heated.
I did.
What's going on? You good?
Bro, I'm fine. It's just like, man, I swear, okay, again, I swear, I knew that fact. Because it's such a fascinating thing that nowhere in the actual document of the Constitution does it reference God in any way whatsoever, except for when they write the date.
Listen, I understand. You just got real excited. That's all. That was
well. You said I had to make the most of my time here. I've already canceled. I'm never coming back.
That's true. And if you still want to make the most of your time with us and you're watching this live, you can do that because we are going to go to the Discord, the after show. Links to that are going to be in the live chat, and we're going to hang out there. It is not recorded, and it's just a fun place to kind of talk about how the show went and how you're doing, how we're doing, and you can ask us additional questions. But we are going to be doing some fun stuff next week because the question next week is complete the sentence. Aliens wouldn't abduct me because blank. So comment on the video and your comment may be read on next week's show. And let me make sure I get all these super chats. Yeah, we are good. We're caught up on our super chats. Ooh. Elliot, isn't that a fun thing to say?
That's
let's get things wrapped up here. I want to thank Infidel64 for hanging out tonight as our backup host. He's also going to be in the after show here in just a second, I think. And let's talk about words of wisdom. You got any words of wisdom?
I know you know what's so crazy is I know you ask that every single time, and for whatever reason, I have never prepared anything.
I don't. I tell people at the beginning of every show, every single time we have a guest, I say, and at the end, I say we ask for words of wisdom, and it always catches them off guard.
I know. It's just I genuinely I should do better.
You know what?
On
but
that.
You know what? I like impromptu words of wisdom because there's an art to that, and there's something special about that.
I think so. The last few times you've asked me this, Dan, the last few times I've been so lucky to be here. Then this is my last time probably, but I've been general. I've been, I've tried to do something encompassing. I'm going to be real damn specific here. Okay.
Before you do, quick super chat from the gray-haired gamer who gave $10 and said, SR, where can I get details on your upcoming meetup?
Just hit me up. Go to my Twitter. It's just Secular Rarity. Just go to Twitter. You'll find it. I post all the stuff there. That's the easiest thing to do because I post stuff there. Yeah. That's awesome. We'd love anybody to show up. It's great. So yeah, words of wisdom. Here they are, Dan. If you are a United States citizen, read the Constitution. That's all I got.
Thanks. That's all I got. Thanks. What about non-citizens? Are they not allowed?
No. I just think citizens have a responsibility to know that. But
sorry, I kind of bursted your little bubble there. I kind of undergirded. I kind of undermined your.
No. I don't think so. There. No, I think it was great. Non-citizens absolutely read the Constitution.
Here, let me officiate this a little bit more, folks at home. Proud American Secular Rarity says, read your Constitution. I'm Objectively Dan. Remember to always keep one the truth. God bless you. See you next time.
We just end with God bless this great nation.
Oh, God.
Is proud to be an American. That's copyrighted.
Watch the non-prophets and join the hosts in the live chat Visit tiny.cc/ytnp.